Dr. Sadrag Shihomeka is the Head of Department for Higher Education and Lifelong Learning and a Senior Lecturer for Social Media and Politics at the University of Namibia, and is currently serving as the editor for an academic book titled Organizational Learning and Development in the AI Era. The publisher is IGI Global Publisher, which is a full member of the International Committee on Publication Ethics. He is joining me now in studio to talk to us about his role and, of course, the book as well. A very good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
First of all, just talk to us about what motivated you to be the editor of a book titled Organizational Learning and the Development. Yeah.
Thank you, listeners. This is how it started. Since I'm in the field of lifelong learning, I'm also in the field of higher education. This is the field that is, given that responsibility and mandate to assess the training needs of employees in various organizations, and also to equip them with the necessary skills and knowledge so that they'll be able to do their work the way they're supposed to do it. So with that, then we are engaged in what we call, training and development previously.
Right.
And right now, the field now changed, and people are no longer talking about training and development. That people are talking about learning and development. That, refers to, that process, that, employees undertook first for their training needs or learning needs to be assessed.
Yeah.
Then, somebody will come up with, a training material or training, intervention that will help them, to fill that training, gap that was identified. And from there, they'll be able to come back to work, and they will do things, differently than, they used to do before. Now, when I have been, training these students, one, I have identified that it's not only our students that are coming at the university, but mainly employees who are currently at workplace. What they got from the university, that's not adequate. Because, in most cases, employers have to invest a lot of money on continuous professional development programs. Yeah. And with that, it surrounds or revolves around, learning and development as a field of study. So that's when I also realized that, we do not have really a local, book written by, Namibians, which is depicting, our local content and context, and giving our own case studies, so that at least now our own, organizations or employees within Namibia, they will be able now to apply what they have learned so that they can increase their productivity. So I was highly motivated to say, our students at the university, they don't have any local, written book by the local experts, and we don't have, people that are really, fostering, and also, pushing to make sure that this field of learning and development is, becoming, a field, that is known by everyone. So that's, the reason why I ended up doing it. To make sure that, we have something for ourselves rather than having books that are written by other, authors. Absolutely. And they are not Namibians.
A very good initiative indeed. Now talk to us about, what you just mentioned now, which is your target being now your lecturers and your students.
Yes.
Talk to us about why you actually decided to go for that audience only, and also why you decided to also focus on organizational learning and development as well as artificial intelligence.
Yes. The audience is not really limited to, academics. That's like now students at the universities or lecturers or, employees at work. Right. But it is open for anybody who is interested or involved in, learning and development interventions or programs. Yeah. That's one. Yeah. But, why are we focusing, on organizational learning and development in the artificial intelligence era? It is because, this field now, in this era where we are, where digitization and digitalization plays a major role in the form of, it being a platform where learning, and development is taking place. Yeah. So I need to write a book that is also responding to the current needs of the industry. And the requirement for IGI Global Publisher is that, when you are writing this book, it should have, an audience. I identified the audience, but now they said it should also focus on the current, issues that are affecting the field And that is now digitalization and digitization. Because, we have so many things that you find, on internet. It is on, YouTube, videos that were recorded. You find a lot of articles written. But these articles, how authentic are they? How useful are they? How significant are they now in the lives, the real lives of these employees? Right. So that's the reason why I said, okay, I would like to have a book that is also guiding, the readers on, the role that artificial intelligence plays in the field of organizational learning and development. Remember, learning and development has to do with the permanent acquisition of skills and knowledge. Absolutely. So that you'll be able now to perform, your duties. But what we are saying about development is that, this knowledge and skills that you have acquired, you should be able to use it now to bring about growth and change within your organization.
And also following the trends that are currently happening now, artificial intelligence being one of them.
Yes. And I want to introduce them also to various ethical issues that are involved. In as much as we are using, robotics, or any other type of, applications or digitalization tools, for training purposes, there are various ethical issues that are involved. So I want to expose them to that field.
Absolutely. So we can see that the call for the book chapters deadline is somewhat in June. How many chapter proposals have you received so far, and from which countries perhaps have those proposals come from?
Yes, I have to be thankful for this because, it was just a short time that I gave to the, possible authors, right, to draft their book proposals, because I only gave them almost like 2 months. Okay. And when I gave them 2 months, I received, 25, book proposal chapters. 25. And out of 25, because, the IGI Global, Publishers, they also have their own requirement. So a book of this nature cannot have, 25 chapters. So I have to scale down and look at the best one. So far, I scaled it down and have 20, book chapters, People have submitted their draft already. We are at an advanced stage. Yeah. And these chapters now ranges from things like, foundational theories, legal frameworks that govern learning and development, assessment tools used in learning and development, digital medias that learning and development officers are using, okay, implementation and evaluation of learning and development programs, issues of managing finances and budget for learning and development. Remember, when I'm saying learning and development is training, That's right. So how to create budgets and whatever things. So how politics, internal politics within an organization and the external politics influences, learning and development in that organization. Those are some of the chapters that I have received, but there are 20 in total that we are working on.
But still needs to be scaled down. I'm not going to scale them down because in total there were 25. So the other 5, I rejected them. So now we have this 20 and we are working with them now with the reviewers, because you should have a team of reviewers that are outside. And they are doing what we call now a blind review. So when they are receiving this chapter, it doesn't have any name and doesn't have any institutional name. So what we want is for fairness, so that when you are looking at these book chapters, you are not looking at it because I know that it's from John. Right. So let me just grade it so low. Okay. So to be fair, we use blind reviews. One thing that I need to mention also is that, I did not only receive book chapters from Namibia. So I have from Zimbabwe, I have from Tanzania, from Kenya, and also, from other European countries, which is also a requirement for IGI, that it should also have, chapters written by people who are also not from Namibia, so that it will have that internationalization perspective. Very well. Let's talk about the university programs in Namibia. Do we have any programs at any universities in Namibia where, where the book content can be relevant, and why that is the case? Yes.
Yes, to be specific, the University of Namibia, that's one. Yeah. University of Namibia under the Department of Higher Education and Lifelong Learning, 3 years ago, they initiated, and they came up with a new program, which is a Bachelor of Education in Organizational Learning and Development. It's targeting those people. And on top of that, they are also now working on 1-year honors degree in Organizational Learning and Development, a master's degree and a doctorate that will be, implemented maybe by 2025 or 2026, because we are busy with the registration. So that's one part of audience where the book will be used. But, remember that, learning and development is a partial component of HR,
Right.
and that's what they call now human resources development in some organizations. Now, with this human resources development, you can see that people that are studying human resources, they might have a module on training and development or human resources development, so they will need this type of book, and therefore it will be useful. And, other institutions who do not have, maybe modules on that, they might have short courses that they are offering, and definitely they will make use of this book. But it's not only about that, using it on structured, programs. We can also use it on non-formal programs like, just, facilitating a workshop somewhere or doing a consultancy. Yes.
Let's talk to perhaps any viewer who's watching right now, perhaps one who is an emerging writer or perhaps an emerging publisher who is watching right now and wants to hear perhaps some advice from you. What is your message to them?
This is very interesting because, Namibians, some they have this perception that for you to be able now to write a book, you should have a PhD. No, it is not like that. You should have a master's degree. No, it is not like that. Sometimes you just need to be passionate, because some of the books that we are using here are written by people who do not have even degrees, they have just diplomas. You need to be passionate, you should be well experienced, and you should have vision about that specific field. So what I'm telling the viewers is that for the young ones, especially the emerging scholars, we need to invest much onto our local knowledge and skills, especially knowledge, the content that we have, local content. It should be written by our own people. Indeed. And it should reflect us. It should talk about us, not talking about South Africa or Zambia. So I really would like to see young scholars, writing books that can become prescribed, learning materials or recommended learning materials at tertiary institutions of higher learning. I know that we are also engaged in this self-publication, books. But I want us to move away from self-publications. Then we come to the edited books version, books that are peer-reviewed to meet the international quality standards, to make sure that, even if it is recommended to students in South Africa, that book will make a difference in the lives of the students that are doing. So young scholars, emerging scholars should invest more of their energy in creating local content that can be used in our institution of higher learning.
Absolutely. Very, very great advice. Thank you so much for that. Finally, when can we expect the last version of the book and as well as the launch? When is that set to happen?
According to the schedule that I have, because now the book chapters that are submitted, the drafts, they are now with the reviewers and they are, submitting them back. The schedule is that, this book will be completed, by December.
Right.
And I know that, by January it will be online. If everything works the way we planned with IGI. So by January it will be online, and from there people will be able to place an order. And for now, if you Google it online, you'll be able to see the tentative part of the book, maybe the tentative cover page, the title, and the ISBN number. It is already allocated, and even the price is already there. You can do pre-orders already, maybe 6 months in advance.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sadrag, for making the time to talk to us this morning. Of course, we wish you all the best for this very inspiring publication, and of course, all the best for the launch as well.